Again. Do you struggle to get new clients? I know many entrepreneurs who do. Today, I am excited to have a guest co-host here on Collaboration Conversations. Filling in for Pearl Cox is Tim Hyde. And Tim is somebody you need to know. Let me tell you just a little bit about Tim. Tim helps experts win more clients, and I love this part, listen up folks, with less effort by implementing a framework for calm, predictable, and organized growth. Wow. Welcome, Tim. So glad you're here today.
Thanks, Regina. It's fantastic to be here.
Love it. Let's just start sharing. I want folks to get to know you a little bit first. So tell us a little bit about your background and what's brought you to this place in your career.
Well, I think I'm going to blame my parents, not because they were entrepreneurs themselves, but well back in my youth, they gave one of my favorite books was Uncle Scrooge. And to this day, I still don't know what Uncle Scrooge actually does, right? So we're talking about Disney's Uncle Scrooge here. Because he rows his boat around this money pit and looks like he's having a laugh of a time.
Right.
And this idea of sort of, having this money pit as a young kid fascinated me. I think I might have been 5 or 6. And when I was 6, I started my first business. I started a circus when I first moved to my current hometown, and invited all the neighborhood kids around, made them dress up and act in my circus and charged them all 20 cents admission.
I love it.
Right? And that was a lot of money back then, right?
Yes.
And I spent my ill-gotten gains on 2 things, right? I spent my half of my money on a brass inlaid oak cigar box, which was my money pit I could stack my coins in. Right?
Okay.
And the second thing I spent my money on, I spent $1 on 1 cent sweets at the local shop.
$1 on 1 cent sweets.
$1 on 1 cent sweets.
How long did those sweets last?
Well, they lasted on the walk home from school, which was about 15 to 20 minute walk home from school. And I ate the entire bag there, but there were so many, sweets in this bag that in the little sandwich bag that it was completely packed. Right? They almost falling out the top, and I ate them all the way home, and I was hooked. Now I'm not sure whether it was the sugar rush in my
right,
but I could, have fun and make money at the same time. That really got me interested in entrepreneurship and being able to, I guess, create something that gives a great deal of joy and pleasure to other people that I get to benefit off at the same time. And if we think about what our purpose of why we are in business, it is actually to kind of, have an impact on other people in some ways,
isn't it?
Whether that's for fun, whether that's to solve and alleviate a pain for people, or help people to get ahead in some particular way. That's ultimately the purpose of what our business is for, is to help, someone else overcome a particular thing that they want to overcome, or achieve a thing that they want to achieve. And at the same time, we get to enjoy ourselves in the process. And so this has been an underpinning thing for me, throughout my entrepreneurial
since you were
journey.
6.
I am now, I guess. Right. But roll forward to adulthood, and I think we have this veneer of seriousness over what it is that we do, right? Because there's mortgages and school fees and bills and all this other stuff that make adulting not so fun. And sometimes I guess we go into business thinking that it'll be kind of easy street, but it's not, because we suddenly learn we have to have all these other skill sets involved in order to make this fledgling thing that'll take all of our time and then some, to make it work, to give us the outcomes that we always wanted to have, those freedom of choice, location, time. It doesn't really do that, right? Unless we build the machine to make it work for us.
Absolutely. I love that you said that. As you know, one of our friends, Sherry Knight from Canada, and I have been doing a 5-day challenge this week on transforming your business into a profit-making machine. And today's topic was all about systemization and creating systems in your business throughout. And you do a lot of automation. That's a lot of what you do. And that's obviously systemization, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
then
find it
some.
interesting, the conversation that we have with clients when we look at, building automation, particularly around sales and marketing process, right? I think if you've got a good sales and marketing process, you've got a business. It may not necessarily be very efficient, but it's good at creating dollars, right? We don't work specifically with sort of other areas of people's business. There are other experts in the space to help you on supply chain and all that sort of other stuff,
Right.
staffing, etc. But I do think, it's important that we look at how we systemize our business, because otherwise we get stuck at this stage. I think that Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad articulates super well, right? We go from having a job to owning a job, right? And I like to
Yeah.
joke and say, look, it's like you've replaced one idiot that you went to work for every single day with another one that looks back at you in the mirror in the morning,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And there's this really important transition, I think, in business, again, that Kiyosaki articulates really well, from having a job, or owning a job, I should say, which is where so many of us start in business as self-employed consultants or contractors or plumbers or whatever it is that we do. And when we transition to owning a business is where and that's the thing that we all need to do if we want to have the independence and freedom and
Exactly.
choice
Yes.
that we have. But that requires other people or processes or systems to be able to execute on our behalf. Now, whether we
Yes.
plug a human resource in to be able to do the thing, or a technological resource or a machinery resource into delivering the output of our business, it still requires systemization in order to achieve that goal.
Absolutely. One of the stories that I told this morning or shared this morning was about a law firm that they were collecting about 25,000 in revenue a week with their, star person that was handling all of that. That person left, next person takes their spot. And suddenly 90 days down the road, they're in a cash crunch. They're $120,000 short of where they would normally be, because the new guy is only collecting 15,000 a week instead of the 25,000 a week that the former person was doing. But there were no processes left in place to duplicate what he was doing. It was just one person doing something. And so that systemization of really looking at every process in your business, everything, and creating systems for it and automating that as much as possible is so powerfully important.
Yeah, look, and it's a thing, right? As we scale our business, we need to do more stuff. And, we just don't have the capacity for it to do all of the stuff that our business does. I certainly found this during the noughties. I, was fortunate enough to sort of have a hand in starting one of Australia's first social media sites back in '99. And I say social media loosely, because social media wasn't a word that anyone used. And ran
Cutting
that for 40
edge.
years, right? And we built this massive audience of people, like a lot of the social media sites have had, and ours was very focused on my hometown of Canberra in Australia. And we had 20 million visits a year, and most of the population visiting several hundred times a month. And had an audience, and thought, how do I monetize this audience? I know I'll sell advertising, right? In the same way that the Facebook and LinkedIn and others have done, right? You've got an audience, we've generated that, let's sell ads. The thing that I kept finding, and this is obviously, I guess the birth of digital marketing as we know it, right? People building websites in Microsoft front page and so on, and other super easy builders didn't exist very long. WordPress was just a thing that was very much in its infancy
Right.
back then, but people didn't have websites, right? So they were going, I need to get onto this this internet
This
thing.
thing.
All right. and work it out. Right? And there's still companies obviously that don't have websites and don't have social media presences, but it's pretty much the norm now. And we were having to teach people what an impression was, right? And so what I would find is that clients would come back and say, hey, it didn't work, right? The advertising that you sold us didn't work. I'm going, well, you know, unlike any other time in history, you can actually go down specifically and say that ad and that message generated this many clicks on your thing, right? It wasn't like
Exactly.
a magazine or a newspaper or something like that, where you get or a TV article, you know, TV sort of show where you didn't really know whether it was working. You could just observe the outcome and kind of have a bit of a guess at whether that was the influence, right? It comes back to that thing about, you know, 50% of your marketing spend is working. You just don't know which 50%.
There you go.
For the first time in history, we could get down to this level of granularity that says, if I change one word, right, and split test, I will see this many more clicks and so on. But I was finding clients would come back and say, oh, it didn't work. And I'm like, well, what did you do with the 7,000 odd people that we sent you, or the 10,000 or 3,000 or whatever that said, yes, I'm interested enough to click on that ad and find out more, but not progress in the customer journey.
Right.
I think that's an important concept that people really need to be thinking about, that your customers, you know, go on a journey from discovery to plan.
Exactly.
Right? And at some point in that journey, for some of them at least, and probably for most of them, that journey breaks and they fall off that process. Okay. And meanwhile, you're busy serving the ones that, you know, said yes all the way through. But it'd be like asking your kids to clean their bedroom and having them do it the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Right. You know, if only that was a thing. But our customers are the same, right? They go on a journey and we're asking them to say yes at every step in this journey, but they're not doing that. It's not their priority. The thing that you solve for them, you know, is not their priority today. They've got other things to do. They've got, as I said, they've got school fees. I've got to go grocery shopping. I've got the tax bill to pay. I've got the whatever else I've got to do today. And the thing that you solve in most cases is not their biggest priority today. And if we don't have depth of relationship, we've got to have number of relationships. Okay. Number of relationships is very hard. Right. Number of relationships is what you see on LinkedIn right now, where you connect with someone, they say, here's my price list, buy. Yeah. Right. That's what you see on TV, where you go, you know, if I send enough ads at you, maybe I will get someone who needs that today.
Yeah.
Right.
And we know there's only a small percentage of your audience that's ready to buy today. Very small percentage.
It's minuscule. It's minuscule. It'd be like taking out, you know, $100 bill and then slicing it into 100 pieces and just taking one of those. I'm going to go and buy something, and we'll sweep the rest off the table. You probably
the rest
wouldn't do
are still on that journey. Yeah.
So, and we have I think we have a responsibility, if we want to get the outcome that we want, and we want to create the outcome that we have for other people, is we've got to build a mature customer journey into our business first and foremost.
Agreed. So, Tim, I want to turn this conversation a little bit and take us down the road of collaboration. So, I don't know if this question makes any sense or not. You'll straighten me out if it does or doesn't here. So, we want to have those collaboration conversations with people, right, that lead to more business opportunities. Either they become a client, we become a client of theirs, we do something together, you know, there are many possible outcomes from that. How can we automate that collaboration process, or can we?
We absolutely can.
And, what does that look
automate,
like?
I think we want to be very careful when we say automate. Automation doesn't mean impersonal.
Okay.
It doesn't mean robotic. And I think a lot of people think that if I automate something, I'm going to get a robot.
Right.
And, you know, it will do the robot dance and it won't actually connect with people in any sort of meaningful way, right? What we're looking to do is deepen the relationship with our collaboration partners.
Right.
And so first of, what we want to do is look at what's the process by which we systemize the depth of relationship. Now we do this as human beings anyway, right? When we start our life, we get out there and we date and we try a process and it doesn't work. And then we try a slightly different process for the next person, and it may or may not. We get a little bit further, and then we try another process for the next significant other. And then we work out that if I don't start with, hi Regina, we should have 10 kids. Right. And I start with, hey Regina, you look fabulous today. Can I grab your number?
You're going to get a lot further, right?
You're going to get, generally speaking, you're going to get a lot further, except for that one guy in Canada I met once who married his first wife on their first date and his second wife on their second date.
Oh my goodness.
Look, he was divorced at the time, and when I spoke to him, he was looking for wife number three.
Oh boy. So he's looking for the third date now.
Maybe you haven't dialed in your process enough, but there is a process by which we can deepen relationships with our collaboration partners. And
okay, what does that look like?
Look, I think what it looks like is really understanding who it is, right? Adding value to the relationship first.
Right.
It's not starting with, can you refer me to your network, Regina? And you're like, well, I don't know you and I don't know what it is you do. It starts by building a relationship in the same way that you build a relationship with your significant other.
Right.
In your life, right?
Yeah.
You add value, right? You put yourself out there to do more for them than they do for you to start with. Like a bank, right? And we have to add deposits into the bank to be able to take deposits out.
Yes.
Right?
Good point.
Unless you're wearing
good analogy.
With a gun, but that has complications as well. We've got to add value into the relationship. Now, here's the thing, right? And this is where the automation side of things comes in. There's an anthropologist named Robin Dunbar who has this theorem called Dunbar's number. Okay, now this is an important criteria because we see this exhibited in populations of humans and mammals all over the place, right? Okay. And it says, Dunbar's number says we can only maintain 5 intimate relationships. Okay, we can maintain 15 close relationships, 50 casual relationships, and 150 acquaintances. After 150, we see groups tend to go into certain cliques.
Right.
All right, and we see this everywhere, right? If you look at emergency services, one person will never command more than 5 subordinates. Because we need that level of intimacy, right? You look at family groups, generally speaking, right? That's why we have these nuclear families of 4 to 5 people.
Got it.
Right? Now, that's not always the case. We sometimes have much bigger families as well. We see in organizations, right? How big is your team in your organization before it becomes unwieldy and too hard to manage?
Right.
And that's because, now there are exceptions to the rule because some people are exceptionally good at managing relationships, right? But generally speaking, we see this sort of 5, 15, 50, 150 groups. After 150, we tend to see them break off into other groups.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Leaders. Okay. This is where automation and systemization of our relationships becomes absolutely critical. All right. We have these things called CRMs that are available to us. That allow us to expand the number of relationships we can manage. Because all of the information that, is floating around in our brain that we can't remember about the last conversation, we can put into a system to recall as and when we need it. Right. Okay. So things like, I spoke to Dave 3 weeks ago. Now, I probably can't remember when I spoke to Dave specifically. I probably can't remember the details of the conversation I had 3 weeks ago in any great detail, because my brain isn't wired that way. My brain is wired to look at what is the thing I need to do right now. Not can I remember the intimate details of every word I said 3 weeks ago. Yeah. In fact, some of us can't remember what happened yesterday. Right? That's okay. You can get help for that. Right? But our CRM system allows us to manage that, but it also allows us to set the next action. So we can automate and systemize, right? I need to reach out to Dave every 3 weeks. I need to review what happened previously with Dave, and then I need to go, what's the next action I need to do? Right. Okay. And that allows us to come across to Dave as like being really important, because we're suddenly remembering all these details about the fact that his, daughter's in hospital and He's got 2 dogs named Jed and Jethro,
Right.
whatever else. And Dave's going, oh my God, you remember all these details about me. I must be really important to you.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Which endears us to Dave. And Dave is like, well, now when you ask me for something, I will do that for you.
Right. Right.
Okay? Because we have
That
this
law of
depth of
reciprocity and
law of reciprocity, right? We
connected
do
to
things
the
for people
yeah.
that we think care about us,
Yep.
and vice versa.
Yep. Absolutely. I love it. I love
Okay.
it.
And so that's where we want to look at these depth relationships. So if we want our strategic partnerships to work, if we want our referral partners to work for us, we want our joint, if we want our collaborations to work, we need to deepen the relationship with the people we want to have collaborations with, in order for them to know, like, and trust us, right? And I think, just on that as a little segue, we often think that trying to out-expert our competition will suddenly mean that, everyone will suddenly recognize our genius and throw tons of money at us and go, it's amazing.
Yeah, no.
But it's not true, right? What is true
Right.
is that people buy from people who are competent,
Yes.
that they like.
Yes. Yes.
You don't have to be the best in the world at what you do. You just have to be competent and demonstrate your competence.
Right.
Right. But I will always buy, and as will you, I will buy from companies and brands and people that I like over someone who needs to be a slightly better expert.
Right. Right.
I probably won't buy from people who are incompetent, right? No matter how much I like them. But it's an important thing.
So,
if you think about it from a collaboration standpoint, the same rule applies. I'll refer to people I like, and I won't refer to someone I don't like, despite the fact they do the same thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. How have you seen collaborations work in your life and business, Tim? What are some things that you've experienced through collaborative efforts?
Well, let's use the obvious example. I've never spent a cent on advertising. In more than 20 years of business, I've never spent a cent on advertising. All of my business has come by referral.
Right.
And if I can share one of the strategies we're looking at right now, and as a consulting firm that we do, and we obviously do a lot of marketing automation work as well. If I build a partnership with 20 people, just 20 key referral partners like yourself, Regina, and others who are in my space but don't do what we do, and I meet with each of those people just for 10 minutes once a week, and I say, Regina, who have you met in the last week that would be a good referral, good introduction for me? And chances are you've met 3 or 4 people a week. If you're not meeting 3 or 4 people a week, you're probably not doing any sales work at all. And one of those people, it becomes a good introduction for me. Right? Now I've had 19 other conversations the same. So literally I've had 20 introductions a week.
Right.
Now we know that referrals are the best form of new business, right? They come with an inherent referred trust. Yes. That means they're far more likely to close, right? This is why we go to our friends and family and we say, oh, who was your builder? Who was the guy who did your electric work?
Exactly.
Right? And we don't question it. We just go do it.
Yeah.
Good enough for me.
Exactly.
Okay, who's your accountant?
What program are you using? Whatever.
That's right.
Right.
Okay? It's a human nature, right? Because we are community-minded, animals in many ways. Okay. If you ate that berry and you didn't die, I'm going to eat the berry as well. All right. So, if I meet with 20, but let's be conservative and say, half of the people didn't have an introduction that week. They weren't good fits. So I've now got 10 introductions. Again, we know that referrals close at a much higher rate than any form of other business. In fact, I think it's like almost 80 times as effective, more effective than advertising, which is a stupid amount, right? It's well up there. Okay. Referrals from clients, referrals from friends, speaking on stage, advertising, right? Yep. Great for reaching mass audiences, but not very effective. Right. Okay. Right. So anyway, I've got this referred. Okay. Let's say I close not even all of them, 80% of them, I'm going to close half. Right. Fantastic. I've now closed 5 new clients
5
a
new
week.
clients. Yeah.
Right. Now that's a good problem for your business to have.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's 250 clients a year. Most people can't do 250 clients a year.
Right. That,
You know? And if you're in a high ticket sort of space, or reasonably high ticket sort of space, or you've got you know, a relationship that spans over years in terms of
right.
lifetime customer value.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
that could be a sort of $20,000, $30,000,
Huge.
$50,000, $100,000 client
Right.
off the back of a 10-minute phone call with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you're listening to this, folks. This is gold.
Okay. Kind of makes a lot of sense
Actually,
to go,
it's
okay, if I
platinum.
spend 4 hours, so there we go. There's my 4-hour work week done. I'm going to throw someone else to do the sales.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
you know, thank you very much,
Yeah.
Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week.
There you go.
Right. And yeah, it's been an intense and frantic 4-hour work week. But if we look at, you know, again, if we look at, you know, this goal of how do I serve more people with less effort on my part, I've got
Right.
to systemize my business.
Yeah.
Because systemization of that business allows us to do more in less time. We're not having to reinvent the process each time.
Right. So wouldn't you say that one of the key elements of that relationship, those 20 people that, you know, yourself and 19 others, one of the key things is having that attitude of wanting to make those connections for other people, wanting to serve other people. As Jay Fazette calls it, I'll go first. Let me serve you first before I ask for anything from you. So that when we're having those conversations during the week, our mind needs to be geared up to who in my network can I introduce this person to? Who's a good fit for them as either a partner, a client, or a vendor, you know, that I can introduce them to, so that you're constantly thinking as you're working with someone, how can I serve and support this? One of the ways I do that is I'm always looking for people like to be here on the show, to be on my podcast, to be on my TV show. How can I give them more exposure, you know? But I'm also always looking at who can I introduce them to? Who can I introduce them to?
Yeah, I think that's, you know, it earns a great deal of, you know, credibility and reciprocity if you are the person who creates opportunities for other people. And all it requires us to do is take our blinkers off a little bit and stop necessarily thinking about how can I make a buck out of this situation.
Right. How can I help?
Reframing that and said, how can I help this person achieve what they want to achieve?
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't necessarily mean to be me that helps them do that.
Exactly.
It can be someone in my network that does that.
Right. And I don't necessarily have to get a commission for doing it, although those are nice. I don't have to. I'm doing it because it's good for, you know, it's a win-win-win. It's good for everybody, right? And so it's helping them grow. They're going to refer people back to me. My payout may come out later down the line when they've got someone to refer me to me.
Well, look, you know, in some ways our payout comes out because we've just made someone's life better.
Yeah,
right?
true.
We should enjoy that.
True.
I many years ago, when I first joined BNI, and for those people who know BNI, it's just one of about 1 million different networking organizations out there. But BNI have this philosophy called givers gain, right? That underpins a lot of what it is they do. Can be a bit scary and cultish as well, but you know, this givers gain philosophy, when I first joined, I didn't really understand what it meant. Right? I thought, I don't quite get this thing. But then, you know, when I actually sort of changed it, right? And like I took the philosophy of givers gain to be, if I genuinely and generously give, I'll see a result. Okay.
It will come back.
Actually, when I embraced that, I was going, wow, this is actually really different. Not only does it feel better, but I'm actually getting more business.
Right.
Right. So it kind of simplified it down to givers gain. But it is that thing. If you genuinely and generously give of opportunities to others, you will see those opportunities to return to you. Okay?
Absolutely.
Because you will attract people to you,
right,
who share that value.
Yes.
and want to do the same.
Yes. I had a delightful conversation with someone about a week ago. And when we got off the call, I immediately had about 5 introductions in my email. And those have turned into co-hosts here. They've turned into TV shows. They've turned into podcasts. So far they've been just really phenomenal. And I can see partnerships coming from several of those. But I mean, it was just immediate.
Well, it
That
comes back to
giving.
this thing, right? We're ultimately building relationships. We're not just building
Yeah.
relationships with our clients and partners and staff and collaboration partners. We're building relationships, and relationships have these fundamentals that work,
Yeah.
universally,
Right.
right? That apply. If we can manage a relationship or manage more relationships, we will be better off. If we're
Yes.
not very good at managing relationships, we won't have many.
Yeah. True.
Okay.
And
Fundamentally, that's the thing. If we're good
yeah,
at managing relationships, we will have more opportunities that come from those relationships.
absolutely. And I like that you brought that aspect in, because sometimes we drop the ball. I had something going on, I think it was Monday, and I dropped the ball and I missed an appointment. And I got caught up in something that just ran longer than I expected it to, right? And I missed this appointment, and it didn't dawn on me for about 2 hours that I'd missed that appointment. So I immediately reached out to the person and apologized for having missed the appointment. Now, in this case, that apology did me no good because this person was so upset that he'd been stood up for 2 hours that he was just really, don't want to continue, don't want to talk to you ever again kind of thing. But it doesn't always work out that way. A lot of times, most of the time, people are very forgiving and understanding because they know you're human and they know things happen. And that was the case. I didn't stand the guy up on purpose. I would never do that. But I did miss the appointment, and so the more we automate, the less likely that is to happen, right? The more things are automated, the less likely things are to fall through the cracks. Now, it may still have fallen through the cracks on that one because I literally just had to keep going on what I was doing, and I just spaced off that I had that appointment. But how would automation help us in that?
Well, again, it's prompting. It might have been the calendar reminder. It might have been a pop-up notification on your phone or a text message
Yeah.
to yourself to
Yeah.
say, "Hey, Jenny, you got to stop. You've
Yeah.
got an appointment in 2 minutes." We're surrounded by automation in our lives
Right.
now. We don't necessarily think about it, right? Human beings inherently are good at systemizing and simplifying our lives to make things easier for ourselves, right?
Right.
Ever since fire and the lever, right, and the wheel, right, massively important
Right.
systems that help us achieve more with less effort.
Right.
We've invented cars. Now, cars are incredibly complex things, but we get in them and we go left and right and forwards, backwards, right, faster and slower. Okay, it's a
Right.
pretty simple, it's a pretty simple thing, and yet there are 30,000 parts in a car to help us simplify
Allow us to do
the
that.
process of getting from A to B with
Wow.
our family and friends,
Yeah. Yeah.
at 60 miles an hour, as opposed to 2 miles an hour walking.
Right.
Right. And so that's what we're doing. We're surrounded by, right? The text message reminder you get for your dentist or doctor's appointment is an automation. The movie tickets that you get delivered when you purchase online is an automation. The issuing of an invoice when you buy something off Amazon is an automation, because it said, when we do this thing, when this thing happens, do something else. In fact, we've systemized answering the door. Right? If someone knocks on the front door of your home right now, as you're listening to this podcast, there is a process that you follow to go and do that.
To go and answer that door.
Now, we don't think about it, but it's something that you've trained your body over the course of your life to do unconsciously.
Right.
It's just a system, right? The trigger event, right, is someone knocking on the door. The stimulus to your ear, your ear comes. Someone's knocking, the doorbell's rung. I do this thing. I pick up the remote control. I pause Netflix. I get up. I push the dog off my lap. I walk around the dog who's yapping and excited. I go to the door. I grab the handle. I turn the handle to the right. I pull it towards me, but someone I don't want to see, I close the door very quickly. Right? It's a system and a process, but we don't think about it, right? And what we
Right.
need to do in business is we need to build the same systems. Okay.
Yes.
Our business is an autistic 2-year-old. It does the same thing over and over again, but doesn't intuit what we want it to do. We've
Right.
got to teach it what we want to do. We've got to
Yeah.
tell it what we want it to do. And when we do that, it'll do the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Right. Love it. Love it. Tim, this has been fun. You and I could go on for hours, I'm sure. There's so much to this, and folks, hopefully your wheels are turning as much as mine are, in thinking of. I mean, the one golden nugget that came out of this was you talking about this network of 20 people and getting your leads through that, picking up new clients through that. That so easy, and you're building so much trust in that process. You've built the relationships with these 20 people, which now they have relationships with their clients, with other people that they interact with, and that transfers, as you mentioned, that trust transfers when they introduce you. But we need to get in that habit of making introductions, of thinking about who can I introduce this person to? Who can they either serve or be served by? Who would be a good partner for them? And just really let our imaginations go, right? As to what, how they could be served or how they could serve. And that's something I do every day as I meet people. I'm always thinking, okay, who do I need to introduce this person to? Who do I need to introduce this person to? And so, but it's not something that happened automatically. It's something I've come to. It's something I've conditioned myself now to do. Right?
Yeah. And look, it does take practice. Absolutely, it takes practice.
Yeah.
It takes practice, and it takes systemization. It takes a change in thinking.
Yeah.
Fundamental transformation in how you think about the interactions that you have with other people.
Yep. Absolutely.
And there's no right or wrong way. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of different things you can do. Absolutely. Well, again, I thank you, Tim. This is, you are such a wealth, such a fountain of information that I always enjoy our conversations, the opportunity to share you with my world. So thanks for joining us today, folks. Be sure if you have questions for Tim, put them in the comments, and we'll get back to you on that. And again, thank you, Tim, for being here today.
My pleasure.
We'll see you all soon.